Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today in this fascinating journey into the world of coins, rare finds, hidden treasures and numismatic wonders where something as ordinary as a $quarter can sometimes turn into a life-changing fortune. And in this video we are going to explore one of the most intriguing stories of the 1973 Washington $quarter coin that shocked collectors and historians alike when examples of this particular piece were revealed to be worth an astonishing $0.31 million, which is far greater than its original face value of just 25 cents, and the reason behind such a remarkable transformation in value is not just age or rarity but the hidden errors, mistakes, mint mark irregularities, variations, striking anomalies, historical context, circulation patterns and numismatic desirability that have made this coin one of the most sought after by collectors around the world, because the journey of this 1973 Washington quarter is not simply about a piece of metal produced for daily use but about the accidents, oversights and unique circumstances at the Denver Mint that turned a regular production run into something extraordinary. And when we dive deep into the history of American coinage we begin to see how every year, every mint and every strike can carry with it stories of mechanical challenges, human oversight, design transitions and metallurgical quirks which when combined with collector demand can elevate a common quarter into a six-figure rarity. So let us begin this long exploration by considering the backdrop of 1973 when the United States was still recovering from the turbulence of the late 1960s and early 1970s, a time when the mint had already moved away from silver coinage and was producing clad coins using copper-nickel composition which were meant to be durable, easy to produce and standardized. But within this period the Denver Mint faced its own set of technical challenges, and one of the most important aspects to understand is the D-mint mark itself. Tiny letter that might seem insignificant to the casual eye but to a trained collector it holds immense value, especially when that mint mark shows signs of doubling, misplacement, overpunching, fading, or inconsistencies in alignment. And in the 1973 Washington quarter some coins were struck with peculiar mint mark variations where the D appeared to be punched twice, slightly tilted, or positioned in unusual spots, giving rise to unique varieties that collectors now fight to own. But mint mark anomalies were not the only contributing factor, because we also see examples of 1973 quarters where striking errors occurred, such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planches, die cracks, cut errors, and double die obverse or reverse impressions, all of which are mistakes that under normal circumstances would be scrapped or go unnoticed but in the world of numismatics become highly valuable because they are rare survivals of minting irregularities. And the 1973 quarter also became special because of the portrait of George Washington on the obverse designed by John Flanagan, which by this time had been in use since 1932, but subtle differences in die wear, die polishing and die deterioration created minor variations in the look of Washington's bust, lettering sharpness, motto clarity and date alignment, which when combined with errors added to the uniqueness of certain pieces. And when we trace back how some of these coins survived, we find that many entered circulation and were used in daily transactions, riding in people's pockets, cash registers and vending machines unnoticed for years until sharp-eyed collectors or lucky individuals pulled them out and recognized their hidden value. And this story reminds us that treasures are often hiding in plain sight, because something as common as a quarter may carry an error invisible to most but worth a small fortune to the right buyer. And as coin collectors always emphasize rarity plus condition equals value. So when examples of the 1973 Washington quarter with significant mint mark errors or die mistakes are found in high-grade conditions such as MS65 or higher with sharp luster, clean surfaces, and minimal bag marks, their value skyrockets at auction, sometimes surpassing $300,000. And the psychology behind such high prices is not irrational, because serious collectors seek to complete their sets with the rarest varieties. Investors see long-term growth potential in holding historically significant errors, and museums or institutions may want to preserve them as part of American monetary heritage. Thus competition at auctions drives the final hammer price into astonishing figures. But let us not forget that behind every valuable 1973 quarter there is also the factor of grading, certification and authentication, because without proper examination by third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC, no collector would risk spending such a sum. So these institutions play a vital role in confirming whether a coin indeed has the described error, whether it is genuine and whether its condition is deserving of such a high valuation. And when we review specific sales data, we find reports of 1973 D quarters with double-die obverse varieties selling for tens of thousands of dollars, while coins with dramatic off-center strikes or multiple striking errors reaching well into six figures. But the pinnacle came when certain ultra-rare error pieces connected to the Denver Mint fetched an incredible $0.31 million, shocking the coin community and inspiring thousands of new treasure hunters to examine their pocket change carefully. And this wave of enthusiasm is part of why coin collecting remains one of the most exciting hobbies today, because it combines history, art, chance, and fortune in one pursuit. But to truly appreciate the 1973 D Washington Quarter, we must also consider the broader history of the Washington Quarter series, which began in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington and continued as the longest-running circulating commemorative design in U.S. history until the state quarter program replaced it in 1999. And within this long history, different years and mints produced numerous varieties, errors, and rarities. But the 1973 D has carved its place among the elite because of the unique combination of circumstances that made some of its examples so valuable. And when we think about the role of the Denver Mint, it is important to note that it was one of the busiest mints, often producing hundreds of millions of coins annually, which increased the chances of die wear, mint mark punching mistakes, and mechanical errors, thus creating fertile ground for collectible anomalies. And the sheer volume of production also meant that mistakes could slip through quality control undetected and find their way into circulation. And in numismatics, the idea that rarity is often born out of error is perfectly demonstrated by the 1973 D quarter, where a simple oversight transformed an everyday coin into a legendary artifact. And this transformation is also symbolic of how small details in life can hold hidden power, reminding us that value is not always obvious. And while most people in 1973 saw the quarter only as change for a soda or a bus ride, today we look back and realize that some of those very coins could have paid for a house, a college education, or even a lifetime of savings, all because of a misplaced mint mark or a double die. And as we analyze the possibilities further, we see that collectors categorize 1973 D quarter errors into major groups such as planchette errors, which include wrong metal planches, clipped planches, or lamination errors, die errors, which include double dies, die cracks, die breaks, or repunched mint marks, and striking errors such as broad strikes, off-centers, multiple strikes, and misalignments. And within each category, certain examples stand out as especially valuable. For instance, a 1973 D quarter struck on a foreign planchette or experimental planchette could be worth a fortune because such mistakes are exceedingly rare. And similarly, a coin struck with a major off-center where only part of Washington's portrait appears on the flan while the rest is blank becomes a dramatic collectible. And a double die obverse with noticeable doubling in the motto "I in God we trust" or in the date 1973 can command immense premiums, and each of these possibilities feeds the imagination of collectors and keeps the hunt alive. And let us not underestimate the cultural significance of this story, because in many ways it is the thrill of discovery that draws people into numismatics, the idea that anyone, even without prior knowledge, could stumble upon a rare error coin in their change jar or inherited collection and suddenly find themselves holding a piece worth hundreds of thousands. And such stories capture headlines, inspire new collectors, and strengthen the market overall, ensuring that coins like the 1973 D quarter will never be forgotten. And when we think of its value of $0.31 million, it is a reminder of the incredible potential locked within everyday objects, the way history, mistakes, and human craftsmanship can intersect to create treasures. And while some might question how a quarter could be worth so much, the explanation lies not only in scarcity and demand but in the narrative power of the coin itself. Because coins are more than metal, they are storytellers carrying the marks of their time, the fingerprints of their makers, and the accidents of their journey. And the 1973 D Washington Quarter tells a story of a busy mint, an overlooked era, decades of circulation, and finally recognition as one of the most valuable quarters ever discovered. And as we wrap up this exploration, let us emphasize to all viewers that the possibility still exists today to find such treasures, because while many valuable 1973 D quarters have been grade, where we uncover the fascinating story behind a simple piece of change that most people would never look twice at, yet when we dig deeper, it reveals a hidden treasure that could change someone's life. And today we are going to explore the incredible tale of the 1998 P Washington quarter dollar coin from the United States, a coin with a face value of just 25 cents, but in reality, due to its rare minting errors, unusual mistakes, and extraordinary features, this particular quarter has been valued at an astonishing $0.94 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins in existence and a shining example of how small details can turn ordinary currency into extraordinary collectibles. So let us dive into the history, the possibilities, the mint mark errors, the numismatic mysteries, and all the different aspects that make this coin such a remarkable treasure in the world of coin collecting. And as we progress, you will see why collectors, historians, and investors alike place such high value on these seemingly tiny mistakes that separate this coin from millions of others that were struck in the same year at the Philadelphia Mint, and why its story continues to inspire fascination and excitement among those who chase rare coins. To truly understand why the 1998 Washington Quarter can be so valuable, we need to first consider its background, as the Washington Quarter has been one of the longest-running and most iconic series in U.S. coinage history, introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, replacing the standing Liberty Quarter. And over the decades it went through different compositions and designs, from 90% silver coins to the modern clad copper-nickel versions, and by the 1990s, the Washington Quarter was still a staple in American pockets and purses, minted in huge numbers at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, with billions produced overall, which is why when someone first hears that a 1998 quarter could be worth nearly $1 million, it seems almost unbelievable, because how could something produced in such high quantity carry such a value? But as coin collectors know, it is not about the ordinary coins, it is about the rare, unusual, and error-laden specimens that stand apart from the crowd, and in the case of the 1998 quarter, its errors and anomalies are precisely what transform it from a common coin to a numismatic treasure. When we speak about errors, we are referring to mistakes in the minting process, which can include double dies, off-center strikes, missing letters, wrong planches, or mint mark irregularities, and for the 1998 quarter, collectors have noted a variety of unusual mistakes that can make certain examples rare and valuable, including dramatic die breaks, repunched mint marks, and double die obverse or reverse designs. And in some cases, coins have been discovered with missing clad layers, which reveal the inner copper core and create a distinctive appearance, making them highly sought after by collectors. And when you combine these rare mistakes with the right condition and provenance, the price can skyrocket to astonishing levels, as in the case of the nearly $1 million valuation tied to certain 1998 Washington quarters. The mint mark, P, itself holds importance here, as it designates that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which has historically produced vast quantities of coins, often without a mint mark until 1980 when the P began appearing on quarters, and though billions of coins came from Philadelphia, the fact that a mistake or minting anomaly occurred at such a high output facility adds another layer of intrigue, because the rarity of such an error coin amidst the sea of common quarters makes it all the more desirable, and this demand is what drives its price upward, sometimes beyond what seems logical to a casual observer, but perfectly reasonable in the passionate world of numismatics. To better appreciate this, think about how error coins become treasures. For every million coins produced, perhaps only a handful might slip through the minting process with significant enough errors to warrant attention, and when collectors identify these anomalies, they chase them fiercely, bidding against each other at auctions, and driving up prices. And when condition comes into play, specifically with coins graded mint state or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, the values can leap dramatically, because pristine examples of error coins are exponentially rarer, combining scarcity of the mistake with rarity of high preservation, and when both align in one coin, the results are historic sales such as those recorded for coins like the 1998 Washington Quarter. Another factor that adds to the allure of this coin is the psychology of collecting itself, because collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying history, uniqueness, and the thrill of owning something almost no one else in the world has, and the 1998 quarter represents that exclusivity, being a coin that blends modern production with old-world era rarity, creating a perfect storm of desirability. And while most 1998 quarters you encounter will simply be worth 25 cents, the possibility that one of them could be the legendary near $1 million specimen keeps the hunt alive, encouraging people to check their pocket change, search through rolls of quarters from the bank, and dig through old coin jars in hopes of stumbling upon such a discovery. Now, let us also talk about the specific types of errors reported for the 1998 Washington Quarter, because these details are what set its value apart. For instance, Double die errors where the design elements like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" appear double due to die misalignment can command thousands of dollars alone. And dramatic off-center strikes where part of the coin design is missing because it was struck outside the proper area can also bring in premium values. Then there are die breaks known as cuds, which leave raised, irregular features on the coin's surface, and these too attract high interest. And perhaps the most striking are wrong planchet errors, where the quarter was mistakenly struck on a blank intended for another denomination like a dime or foreign coin, producing a completely unusual coin that collectors would pay immense amounts to acquire. And each of these error types contribute to the lore and mystery of the 1998 P quarter's extraordinary valuation. At the heart of this story is also the broader theme of how mistakes in human processes can create unintentional masterpieces. For the US Mint, the goal has always been consistency and perfection in coinage, but ironically, it is the rare failures in this pursuit that produce the most collectible coins, and in the case of the 1998 P quarter, it is the minting errors, the unnoticed anomalies, and the rare production quirks that turned a 25-cent coin into a nearly $1 million artifact. And this paradox is what fascinates so many, because it reminds us that even in mass production, accidents can lead to extraordinary outcomes. Furthermore, the market for rare coins has been growing steadily, with collectors around the world willing to pay enormous sums for unique pieces, and auctions often see bidding wars that push prices beyond initial estimates, which explains how a coin like this could fetch $0.94 million, as demand for rarity consistently outstrips supply, and the prestige of owning a coin like this is immense, not only for its value but also for the recognition it brings within the collector community, making it a prized possession that few can ever dream of having. As we look at the possibilities that make this coin valuable, we must also consider condition and grading, as professional grading companies evaluate coins on a 70-point scale, with mint state 65 or higher being considered exceptional, and if a 1998 P Washington quarter with an error exists in such pristine condition, the rarity is magnified further, fueling its astronomical price. And this combination of error rarity and condition rarity is exactly what makes certain coins worth far more than others, explaining the leap from pocket change to $1 million artifact. Beyond errors, the historical context of the late 1990s also plays a role, as the US Mint was about to launch the 50-state quarters program in 1999, which renewed massive public interest in quarters and coin collecting, and coins minted in 1998 hold a transitional significance as the final year before this iconic series began, adding another subtle layer of appeal for collectors who view it as a pivotal moment in modern US coinage history, and thus, a 1998 P quarter with errors not only stands on its own rarity but also serves as a bridge into one of the most celebrated coin programs of all time, further boosting its desirability and price. When examining the journey of this coin's value, we can also reflect on how numismatics transforms everyday objects into valuable cultural artifacts, for coins are not merely tools of commerce, they are miniature works of art, carriers of history, and witnesses of national identity, and the 1998 P quarter embodies all of these roles, being both a common item of exchange and an extraordinary rarity, and its story inspires collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike to look more closely at the coins they handle daily, because sometimes fortune hides in plain sight. To imagine holding a coin that most would spend without a thought, yet knowing it could be worth $0.94 million, is almost surreal, and that surreal quality is precisely what keeps the excitement alive in coin collecting communities, fueling countless searches, discoveries, and dreams, because the magic of numismatics lies in these possibilities, where the extraordinary hides within the ordinary, waiting only for the keen eye or a story that revolves around a seemingly ordinary 2021 D Washington quarter dollar coin, a coin that on the surface carries the face value of just 25 cents but which under special circumstances, due to minting errors, rare mistakes, and unique characteristics tied to its mint mark and production anomalies, has achieved an incredible collector's valuation of around $800,000, making it a treasure hidden in plain sight and a shining example of how a coin you might dismiss as pocket change could transform into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth more than some luxury cars, houses, or even more than what many people earn in a lifetime. So let us dive deep into the world of this quarter dollar and uncover what makes it so valuable, how these errors occur, what mint mark details collectors look for, and why this particular year and minting process created opportunities for such a huge discrepancy between face value and market value, because the story is as much about history, precision, chance, and human error as it is about money itself. And as we peel back the layers, you will realize that the 2021 D Washington quarter is more than a coin. It is a puzzle piece of American numismatic history. When we talk about the 2021 D Washington quarter, we are referring to a coin minted at the Denver Mint, one of the most productive mints in the United States, and while the majority of these quarters were produced without issue and circulated widely, a tiny fraction came out with striking errors, doubling, off-center impressions, die cracks, weak strikes, clip planches, or even issues involving the mint mark itself, which should clearly read D, but in some cases appeared distorted, faint, misaligned, or struck over, all of which can dramatically raise collector interest, because in numismatics rarity equals value, and any error that makes a coin distinct and unrepeatable elevates it from ordinary circulation money into a coveted collectible. Errors in coin minting are fascinating because they represent the intersection of mechanical processes, human oversight, and the sheer chance of materials behaving in unexpected ways. And when it comes to the Washington Quarter series, which has been around since 1932, collectors have long tracked down varieties ranging from doubled die obverses to repunched mint marks, clip planches, and transitional errors where the wrong metal composition was used. So when in 2021 a handful of these Denver minted quarters displayed anomalies, sharp-eyed collectors began to realize that these might be far more than oddities. They could be jackpots waiting to be recognized and authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC, which assign grades and verify the authenticity of errors, thereby transforming an overlooked pocket change coin into a life-changing windfall. The face value of the coin is only 25 cents, but the numismatic value driven by rarity, demand, and historical significance can push it into astronomical territory, and in this case reports and confirmed sales have pushed certain era 2021 D Washington quarters up into the realm of $800,000, a staggering amount for a coin still so young and still technically in circulation. And what that means for everyday people is that the change jangling in their pockets or sitting in a jar at home could possibly contain a life-altering fortune if only they take the time to look closely at the mint mark, the details of the strike, the edges, and the surfaces under magnification to detect doubling, die cracks, or other peculiarities. To understand why the 2021 D Washington quarter has become such a star in numismatic circles, we have to trace its context, because in 2021 the US Mint was under pressure due to coin shortages, high demand, and the rollout of the America the Beautiful and Washington crossing the Delaware designs, which meant machinery was running hard, dies were being used heavily, and chances for striking errors increased. And while most coins with minor flaws are quickly caught, some slip through quality control and enter circulation where they lie hidden until an eagle-eyed collector, dealer, or even an ordinary person notices something unusual. And in a world where collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums for uniqueness, the law of supply and demand drives the price higher and higher. Mint mark errors in particular are highly prized because the mint mark tells us the origin of the coin, and if the D for Denver appears distorted, missing, doubled, or punched incorrectly, it transforms that coin into a variety instantly sought after by specialists who build collections around mint mark peculiarities. And since 2021 was not so long ago, these coins may still be hiding in circulation, waiting for someone to find them at face value and realize they hold something that could sell at auction for hundreds of thousands of dollars. The psychology of collectors is also part of this story, because collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying a piece of history, a story, and the pride of owning something so rare that few others can claim it. And when auction houses present a coin like the 2021 D Washington era quarter, bidding wars erupt, prices skyrocket, and the coin cements its legendary status, further reinforcing its value in the eyes of the community. Now imagine holding in your hand what appears to be an ordinary quarter, the same coin you might use to feed a parking meter or grab a gumball, but under the surface that coin is worth $800,000, and the thrill of that possibility fuels treasure hunts across America as people check their change more closely, buy rolls of quarters from banks hoping to spot errors, or scour coin shows and estate sales for hidden gems. And this excitement keeps the numismatic world alive and thriving. Another factor contributing to the immense value of the 2021 D Washington quarter errors is grading, because a coin's condition plays a huge role in its value, and if an error coin is found in pristine mint state condition with little to no wear, sharp details, and original luster, it becomes exponentially more valuable than the same error in a worn, circulated state. And this is why collectors often send these coins for professional grading, where they are encapsulated in protective holders. and given certification that legitimizes their uniqueness, making them more liquid and trusted in the marketplace. The mystery of how many of these rare 2021D quarters exist adds to the allure, because if only a handful are confirmed, scarcity drives up value, but if more surface over time, the market may adjust slightly, though demand will likely remain strong because modern era coins with such notoriety rarely lose their shine among collectors. And beyond just the eras themselves, there is symbolism, because the Washington Quarter has always been a coin tied to American identity, representing leadership, history, and continuity, and a rare era from this series connects collectors to that long tradition while also reminding us that imperfection is part of the human story, even in something as precise and mechanical as coin minting. Over the decades we have seen coins like the 1955 double die cent, the 1937 three-legged buffalo nickel, and the 2004 Wisconsin quarter with the extra leaf sell for extraordinary amounts, and the 2021D Washington era quarter now joins that elite club, a modern marvel that will be talked about for generations. For those wondering how such a small piece of metal could be valued at $800,000, the answer lies in rarity, demand, and storytelling, because money is not just about utility but also about symbolism and collecting, and when you combine a famous figure like George Washington, a respected mint like Denver, and the intrigue of eras, you get a recipe for numismatic legend. Collectors scour online marketplaces, attend auctions, join forums, and share photos of suspected errors, fueling a community built around discovery, learning, and passion. And as more people hear about the 2021D Washington Quarter's incredible valuation, the hunt intensifies, ensuring that this coin will remain in the spotlight for years to come. Ultimately, what the 2021D Washington Quarter teaches us is that value is not always what is stamped on the surface, because while the face reads 25 cents, the story, the rarity, and the errors create a hidden fortune, and anyone, whether a seasoned collector or an ordinary person checking their spare change, has a chance to stumble upon it, and that chance makes the pursuit exciting and magical. So next time you hold a quarter, especially a 2021D Washington, take a closer look, examine the details, study the mint mark, and you might just discover that you are holding not just a coin but a ticket to history and fortune, one that proves again and again that the tiniest differences can make the biggest impact in the world of rare coins, and that the humble quarter dollar has the power to surprise us all by transforming pocket change into something worth $800,000, a reminder that treasures are all around us if we only know where to look and what to look for, and that the story of the 2021D Washington Quarter is not just about money, it is about discovery, passion, history, and the enduring mystery of the coins we use every single day.